Happy New Year's, everybody! I'm all moved in to my mom's basement like the loser I am, and it looks like I'm recording in a grape creamsicle right now. So yesterday we got a Pokemon Direct in. My god, the cycle's been broken! The cycle's been broken! The news we got was not what I was expecting whatsoever, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Honestly, something that I'd hoped that Game Freak would have been doing for a while by now. And that's the remake of Mystery Dungeon. I don't know why, every time I did the personality test in that game, I always got put as a Cubone. I mean, I know I'm sad and pathetic, but like, Cubone? I'm at least a Tangela. So the new Pokemon news has some people divided, but the Pokemon community is already as divided as the crack of my ass. That is, for the first time in years, instead of getting a third version of a game like Pokemon Platinum for Gen 4 or Ultra Moon, we're just getting DLC for Pokemon Sword or Shield, which actually isn't really greedy and is a better situation because they're supporting the game and they're not riding on sales of a new game, completely dumping this generation immediately right when it's released. This is way more consumer friendly, as if you already own the game, you can get more value from it than needing to spend another $60 just to get that potential extra endgame bonus. But no, $30 for more content, that's probably gonna have more content than what's added of a third version of the game anyways. They're also adding new moves as well as 200 Pokedex entries that weren't in the base game. Now the main thing I complained about was the removal of moves versus Pokemon, as I can understand the Pokemon, and coming from a base game perspective, it really doesn't change that much. But when you remove moves, you make it less of an enjoyable RPG experience, as there's less things that you can do and a more basic metagame. So good job, Game Freak, good job. You are as greedy as I thought you for. And had we just gotten an announcement for a new Pokemon game this November with barely any update of Sword and Shield, I would have put you along the likes of Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed and EA with their sports games. I mean, hell, even Activision has multiple teams to work on the different Call of Duty games so that they're released annually, but different teams work on different games. And honestly, at this point, I think you should get more people to work on Pokemon games, Game Freak. Not only because of the, how of a worldwide phenomenon Pokemon is, but just because this model of supporting a single game for a few years after, let's say minimum 2 years after release, definitely offers the capability of producing one game while supporting another, which I'm sure is what they do now. But with the addition of all these missing Pokemon, you can now have a platform where on the Switch, we'll eventually get the game that people were expecting. All the Pokemon in the Pokedex, more animation, yada yada yada. Since the textures and the rigs of every single Pokemon would already be in the game, maybe they could have a team for new animations, just a single like walking or idle animation, just something that hopefully they learn their lesson and they can upsize the team. Since, Town didn't really do that good. I haven't heard about it since release. So all in all, Game Freak really impressed me here. But they aren't perfect. You see, you don't have the option of buying just one of the DLC packs. You have to get the expansion pass. And what I had thought originally that the expansion pass would be included for both Sword and Shield, making this generation the most actually reasonable generation to own both games, since for me, Sword and the DLC, if I were to get Shield, then I would have the base game and all the DLC, making it way more worthwhile. But no, if I were to get Shield and want the DLC, I have to buy the DLC for Shield specifically. But for those people that like to complain, for comparison's sake, the Smash Fighters Pass is $25. So let's get into those DLCs. So first, the Isle of Armor, which is coming out in June 2020. I'm glad I own Pokemon Sword. There's a whole storyline of you being a part of a dojo, and then there's a whole Kung Fu Panda experience. New Gigantamax for the rest of the Gen 1 starters. Why the hell does Blastoise look like a pine cone? And Gigantamax for Gen 8 starters. Inteleon looking like it's storing its own gecko piss these days. Also, what's up with Nintendo letting guns in their games now? If we're gonna be more lenient on censorship, Nintendo, where the hell is my vagina bones and Shin Megami Tensei X Fire Emblem, huh? They're also adding new cosmetics in this DLC, which, might I add, again, Smash Bros. Cosmetics for Mii costumes are money. Here, it's just part of the DLC. So again, to Game Freak's credit, we're doing apple or oranges, I get it. But look, I need to play Masuda's advocate. And then there's the Crown Tundra, which is coming out fall 2020, which would be slightly around the same time frame as the new Pokemon that we would have expected this year. This one looks so awesome, mainly because there's a co-op mode where there's dungeons that you could raid and have the capabilities of capturing a previous legendary. I'm really hoping that the dungeons are different per legendary, like a whole yin-yang dungeon for Zekrom and Reshiram, which, speaking of Gen 5, gets this hairstyle. New legendaries too, like Regielektric, I'ma call it, and Regidragon maybe? Which is awesome because Regis are becoming like the Eevees of the legendaries. And hooray, not just Gen 1 love. But going back to Gen 1 love, Galarian legendary birds. I love Articuno because it looks like they needed to rebuild Robocop bird after it flew into a window.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Also, there's a new legendary that looks like a deer had interbred with a Halo engineer. Game Freak, you did it good. You did it good. I'm hoping that you can support your future generations of games yearly, and that the raid dungeon mode or whatever for the Crown Tundra is unique to each legendary, and that it's updated constantly with new raids. That would be better than anything I could have possibly imagined in previous third versions of generation games. Now, of course, the second that there was news for a Direct, the first thing that people were talking about was, yo, Gen 4 remake! Gen 4 remake 2020! Now, the thing about that is, a spoiler alert, people would still be mad. Long story short, it's because that the game would not be the exact same as the way that they remember it. You see, the main thing is remakes for games are part of the generation. Like Omega Ruby is Gen 6, and they introduced a lot of Mega Evolution. So you could imagine a Gen 8 game would introduce something like Gigantamax Palkia Diagonal, Gigantamax Infernape, which would make a lot of people happy. The thing is, you gotta know is Gen 4 is one of the most important Pokemon generations, and it is because it is on arguably the most sold handheld, no, console there ever was, the DS. The DS was so common that PictoChat was a legitimate form of keeping up to date with geopolitical news. Imagine checking PictoChat to see if World War III started. Now, Gen 4 was actually quite the difficult generation. I actually skipped on Gen 4, so I went back and played Platinum, and it is a lot more difficult than I would have thought. In fact, as early as the first gym, NPCs are encouraging you to grind to level up your Pokemon. And I think because of how popular Gen 4 is the reason why people say that Pokemon is too easy these days, because of how much it is to step down from that game. It's the reason why Pokemon players add so many self-imposed rules, because I feel like these games are too easy. No Pokemon can faint, no items in battles, no items outside of battles, no Poke Centers, no Pokemon Run, no drinking or eating run, no breathing run. I think all the quality of life changes done to Gen 8, such as picking your Pokemon out of the box whenever, transferring moves from the same Pokemon to baby Pokemon, Nature Mints, EXP candies, move tutors in every town, and the way that random encounters work. I think that these are all actually great changes. And although they do make the game easier, it doesn't make things tedious. The one change I absolutely don't agree with, and if they add it to Gen 4, I can see making a lot of people more upset, is Forest EXP Share. I have no idea why they have Forest EXP Share in Gen 8. It makes me feel like I'm trying to fight the game with its pacing. If you have the same team, or maybe swap out a few that you capture on the route, and you just go straight to trainer battles and straight to gym battles, the game is perfectly paced for that. If you stop around and catch a few Pokemon, do some raid battles, you're gonna be crazy over level. And I constantly felt like I was fighting the game to be the perfect level for it to be enjoyable and so that I wasn't over leveled with everything. The way that EXP Share works is fine, which already is a huge simplification from the way it worked in Gen 4, being a hold item, so you already had to sacrifice something, and you only getting half the EXP of the defeated Pokemon, where now the whole team gets all the EXP as if each one fought that Pokemon themselves. But to have that be Forest, there's gonna be a lot of shit from the community. Just let it be toggled. But I think that the one thing that would unify the community in absolute rage would be that, or they just remove seasons. Also, Cynthia would be a joke with the XP share. So that's it. What do you guys think about the Pokemon Direct? I, for one, am thoroughly impressed with the direction that things are heading. But I hope that next year we don't get something that could be seen as a rehash or incredibly lazy. And not that Sword and Shield was a terrible game, but Gen 9, I am expecting something more than just a new battle mechanic and new Pokemon. Which, by the way, Gen 8 has incredible designed Pokemons. And something that I forgot to mention is right now you can get a Galarian Slowpoke. Just slap some yellow paint on it, throw on some forehead creases, and now it's a pure Psychic type. 2020 is gonna be a good year!